So, you're telling me you reconnected with your ex during our break and then ghosted me for 3 weeks? She looked me dead in the eyes and said it with zero shame. Yeah, Austin made me feel alive again. I thought you'd understand. That was the moment I realized my wife didn't just cheat. She made plans to replace me, and I let her believe I'd sit here, broken, waiting. What she didn't know was that while she was playing house with her ex, I was putting together my own finale. One she'd never see coming. I didn't yell. I didn't throw anything. That would have been too easy for her, too predictable. Instead, I poured myself a drink, walked past her like she wasn't even there, and sat on the couch where I used to wait for her every night. She stood in the kitchen, arms crossed, watching me. That same condescending look she always gave me when she thought I was being emotional. I came back, didn't I? She finally said. I took a slow sip and looked her over. Tight jeans, cropped leather jacket, red lipstick she never wore for me. She hadn't come back. She had finished playing. Why? I asked. Why even come back? She shrugged like it was a joke. Because I knew you'd still be here. That did something to me. Not anger, clarity. She didn't think I'd leave. She didn't believe I could. Her phone buzzed on the counter. She glanced at it and quickly flipped it over. I saw the name Austin before she could hide it. Still texting him? I asked, raising an eyebrow. It's none of your business, she snapped. Oh, it's not. I leaned forward, voice still calm. You vanished for weeks, come back acting like I'm some doormat you left by mistake, and now you're still texting the guy you cheated on me with? I didn't cheat, she said instantly. Too instantly. We were on a break. I laughed once. Sharp. Cold. Right. That magical little word that cowards like you use when they want freedom without consequence. You're twisting things, she said, her voice rising. You don't understand what it's like to feel dead in a relationship. I don't understand? I stood up, walked right up to her. I begged you to go to therapy. I changed jobs to be closer to you. I spent every waking hour trying to keep us from falling apart while you were busy falling into Austin's bed. She flinched. Good. Let her feel something. I thought you'd fight for us, she whispered. I did. You just weren't worth winning. She didn't have a response. For the first time in years, I saw her speechless. I grabbed the second envelope from the drawer and handed it to her. What's this now? She asked, suddenly suspicious. Everything you left behind when you ghosted me. Passwords. Cards. Keys. And one last thing. She opened the flap and pulled out a photo. A printed screenshot. It showed her and Austin, his arm around her waist, her head on his shoulder. Timestamped. Geotagged. I hired someone the second your phone went dark, I said. That's from a bar in Santa Cruz. Cute place. Real cozy. You looked so relaxed. Her hands shook slightly. She knew she couldn't lie her way out this time. Not with proof. You had me followed? No. I had you confirmed. I walked to the door, opened it wide, and waited. Leave, I said, before I stopped being polite. She stared at me like she didn't recognize who I was. Maybe she didn't. Maybe she'd gotten so used to manipulating me that she forgot I was capable of standing up. She grabbed her suitcase. Hesitated. Tyler. I didn't blink. Didn't twitch. I hope he was worth it. She stepped out slowly. I shut the door behind her, locked it, and slid the final paper onto the counter, my finalized divorce application. Signed. Stamped. Done. And that's when the first tear fell. Not for her. For the version of me who thought she loved him. The house was too quiet after she left. No heels clicking across the hardwood. No fake laughter echoing from the other room. Just silence, and the low hum of my own breathing as I stood there, staring at the door she had just walked out of. I should have felt victorious. I kicked her out. I confronted her with proof. I stood my ground. But all I felt was empty. I walked through the house like a ghost. Everything was still hers. The couch blanket she liked. Her favorite mug in the sink. Her perfume lingering in the air like a trap. I reached for it, without thinking, and launched the bottle against the wall. It shattered, spraying glass and that sweet, disgusting scent into every corner. That's when the weight hit me. 3 weeks ago, I would have forgiven her. I would have listened to whatever lies she fed me, just to believe that maybe, somehow, we'd make it through. I was that guy. The guy who'd rather suffer in silence than admit he chose the wrong woman. But the Tyler who handed her that envelope wasn't him anymore. He was someone else. And still, that didn't stop the pain from crawling in. My phone lit up on the table. It was a message from Matt, my best friend. Matt, she's gone. Me. Yeah. Matt, you okay? Me. No. But I'm not stupid anymore. He didn't respond. He didn't need to. He'd been warning me for years. Everyone had. Even her own sister once hinted that Ellie had a thing for drama and unfinished stories. Austin was her unfinished story. And now I was the wreckage. I went to the garage and pulled down the old box I hadn't touched in years. Inside were photos, cards, that anniversary scrapbook she made me in year one, pages filled with promises, scribbles like, "You're the only man I'll ever want, and forever, no matter what." I ripped them out one by one and tossed them in the fire pit out back, watched them curl and blacken and crumble into ash. And in that smoke, I started breathing again. It was strange how betrayal burns hot at first, but leaves behind something cold. Cold enough to make you think straight. Cold enough to rebuild. Later that night, I opened the email draft I'd been working on. Subject line, property transfer plus final agreement terms. I wasn't just divorcing her. I was reclaiming everything. The house? Mine. The car she left behind? Sold. Our joint savings? Already locked behind a new account. You ghost a man for 3 weeks, and he learns how to live without you. And she would learn that the hard way. Just after midnight, my phone buzzed again. This time it was her. Ellie. Ellie. Tyler. Can we talk? Ellie. Please. Ellie. You said forever. Ellie. I messed up. I know. But I love you. No apology. No accountability. Just desperation and manipulation disguised as regret. I stared at the messages for a long time. And then I did the one thing I never thought I'd do. I deleted them. No reply. No explanation. Nothing. Let her wonder how it feels to scream into silence. Exactly like I did. For 3 weeks. 2 days passed. She kept texting. Kept calling. Left 3 voicemails, each one more pitiful than the last. The first one was angry. The second one was crying. The third? That one hit different. I didn't mean to hurt you, she whispered through the speaker. I thought Austin was what I needed. But it was a mistake. I came back because I realized it was you. It was always you. I played it twice. Just to make sure I heard what I thought I heard. She thought Austin was what she needed. She threw away our marriage on a guess. A gamble. And now that the high wore off, she wanted back into the life she shattered? I muted the call and dropped the phone face down. I wasn't interested in hearing her lies rehearsed with a softer tone. But I couldn't lie to myself either. A part of me still felt something. Not love. Not anymore. But something sharp and aching, like phantom pain from a limb that used to be there. That's what betrayal is. It doesn't just hurt, it confuses. It scrambles memories, makes you question what was ever real. I started doubting even the good times. Were they good, or just quiet moments between her lies? That night, I met with Matt at our usual bar. He ordered 2 whiskeys before I could even sit down. "You look like hell," he said, sliding one over. "Thanks," I muttered. "Feel worse." He raised his glass. "To freedom." I clinked mine, but I didn't drink. He watched me for a second. "You sure you don't want to talk to her?" "Closure." "She doesn't want closure. She wants comfort," I said. "She wants to make herself feel better. She's not sorry for what she did, just sorry it didn't work out with him." Matt whistled low. "Damn, that's cold." "So was she." He nodded slowly. "What are you gonna do?" I smiled for the first time in weeks. "I've got a plan." The next morning, I posted a photo. Me, standing on the steps of the new place I just bought, holding the keys. Fresh haircut. Fresh shirt. Fresh beginning. No caption. Just a quiet signal to anyone watching. I'm not broken. I'm not waiting. And I knew she was watching. Within 10 minutes, she viewed the story. An hour later, she texted again. "Ellie, you moved out? Ellie, you said we could work through this. Ellie, I can't believe you're giving up." No. What she couldn't believe was that I didn't crawl, that I didn't beg, that I didn't let her back in. I left the messages on read. The next day, a letter arrived at my old address from her attorney. She was contesting the terms of our separation. I laughed. She thought she still had leverage. Thought she could twist the knife just one more time. But she didn't know I had already sent every shred of evidence, photos, receipts, her little getaway location history to my own attorney. I wasn't just playing defense anymore. I was building a case, stone by stone. And by the time it landed in court, the judge would see it for what it was: betrayal, abandonment, and emotional fraud. Ellie had no idea. She thought the storm was over. But really, it hadn't even started. 3 weeks after her dramatic return, we met again, this time across a cold, polished table in a lawyer's office. Her makeup was heavier than usual. That meant one thing. She was nervous, trying to look powerful when inside, she was falling apart. Her lawyer spoke first, all polite phrases and forced smiles. Something about asset division, equitable terms, remaining civil. I wasn't listening. I watched her. Every blink, every twitch of her mouth. She avoided eye contact the entire time until I pulled out the folder. Her name was neatly typed across the front. She hesitated before reaching for it. I thought we agreed to be fair, she said, finally glancing at me. This is fair, I said. I just brought the full story to the table. Inside were timelines, call records, credit card statements, even a printed map of her location data during the break. I had everything from the hotel names to the dinners she pretended she couldn't afford. She hadn't expected me to track any of it. Her lawyer turned pale by the third page. Ellie, is this? She snatched the file back, flipping quickly through the damning pages. This isn't relevant, she snapped. We were on a break. I leaned forward, my voice low and precise. You ghosted your husband and emptied the joint account while pretending to be confused. You didn't want a break. You wanted a clean getaway. And now you're mad because the door's locked behind you. The lawyer cleared his throat. Maybe we should reconvene when emotions are No, I interrupted. We're done here. The documents are signed. If she contests this, we go to court. And I'll bring every screenshot, message, and hotel check-in with me. I stood up. Ellie didn't. She just sat there, staring at the table like it betrayed her too. Outside the office, the air felt different. Clean. Matt was waiting for me in the car. He looked over as I got in. So? She saw the hammer. Didn't expect it to fall. He grinned. You actually did it. Yeah. What now? I didn't answer right away. I just stared out the window as the city blurred by. For the first time in years, there was nothing chasing me. No tension, no begging her to come home, or me to be good enough. I was free. But freedom is strange. It doesn't come with fireworks. It comes with silence. That night, she called again. I didn't answer. The next morning, she emailed a long wall of text. Apologies, nostalgia, guilt, gaslighting disguised as regret. I didn't respond. Instead, I replied with a link. Just one. A digital copy of the divorce decree. With a single sentence. Some doors stay closed for a reason. She never responded to that one. But she did watch. Every story I posted. Every photo. Every reminder that I was alive without her, thriving without her. And that was the real sentence. The punishment she never saw coming. A month passed. Not a single word from her. No more texts. No more voicemails. She finally realized the curtain had closed for good. But silence doesn't mean peace. I still had nights where I'd wake up out of nowhere, heart racing, convinced she was back in the house. I'd sit up in bed, sweating, staring at the bedroom door like a ghost might walk through it wearing her perfume and that same damn smirk. It's hard to explain what betrayal does to your head. It's not just heartbreak. It's distortion. You start questioning every laugh you ever shared, every compliment, every "I love you." Was it real, or was it convenience? Habit? A performance? Sometimes I'd catch myself scrolling back through old photos just to search for cracks I missed, moments where maybe she looked distant or fake, or like she already had a foot out the door. It's self-torture, but your brain does it anyway, trying to make sense of the senseless. But pain, when you let it sit with you, eventually teaches you. It starts shaping something else. Strength. One morning, I woke up and didn't think about her. That was the first real win. A small one, but loud enough in my mind to feel like a victory. I started going back to the gym. Not for revenge. Not for the look what you lost fantasy. For me. Because the sweat, the burn, it reminded me I was still alive. Still in control. Matt pushed me to go out, meet people, try things again. At first, I resisted. I wasn't interested in dating. Didn't even want to flirt. I didn't want to bring another person into my mess. But then I realized I wasn't a mess anymore. I was cleaned out. Scraped raw, sure, but healing. Piece by piece. One night, at a friend's birthday dinner, I met someone. Her name was Grace. She wasn't loud. She wasn't flashy. But she looked me in the eyes when she talked. Really looked. Like she was listening to more than just words. We talked for hours. About everything but relationships. That was the second win. I didn't tell her my story. Not yet. I didn't need to lead with pain. I'd already buried that chapter. I didn't want it defining the next one. Later that week, Ellie texted again. Just one sentence. Do you ever think about us? I stared at it for a long time. Not because I was tempted, but because of how pathetic it felt. After everything she destroyed, she still wanted to linger. Still wanted a crack in the door. I deleted the message. Blocked her number. She was a ghost, and I had finally stopped being haunted. Revenge wasn't the fire. It was the silence. It was moving forward without needing her to know a damn thing about it. I didn't need closure from her. I became my own. I used to think closure meant getting answers. Sitting down face to face, hearing the reasons, the regrets, the apologies. I thought it meant a final talk where everything made sense and the pain got neatly folded into the past. That's a lie we tell ourselves to feel in control. Closure doesn't come from them. It comes from finally realizing you don't need them to move on. You just stop waiting. Stop replaying. Stop needing to understand the why and start building the what's next. Looking back, I can't even recognize the man I used to be. The version of me that begged for her to stay. That sat on the edge of our bed refreshing her location, convincing myself she just needed time. That guy was in love with a memory, not a woman, not the person she really was. Because the woman I married? She disappeared long before the affair. She checked out emotionally months before she ever packed that suitcase. I just didn't want to admit it. That was my mistake, holding on to someone who had already let go. And if you're reading this, or listening to this story, and you're in that same space, let me say it straight. If they leave you once without explanation, they'll do it again. If they need space, but disappear into someone else's arms, they never cared about preserving anything with you. That's not confusion. That's cruelty wrapped in fake tenderness. You don't save relationships by begging. You don't rebuild love with someone who walks away when it gets hard. You don't forgive people who ghost you and expect to be treated like royalty when they float back in. You walk away. Even if your legs are shaking. Even if your heart's breaking. You walk. Because one day, you'll wake up, like I did, and realize you haven't thought about them in weeks. And it'll hit you like sunlight through a window you forgot to open. You're free. That's the reward. That's the revenge. That's the redemption. Not in destroying them, but in rebuilding you. Grace and I? We're still talking. No labels, no pressure. Just two people learning each other, slowly and honestly. And it's refreshing, terrifying, but refreshing to have a conversation where every word doesn't feel like a trap. Sometimes I still feel the scars. I won't lie. There are nights when I wake up and the ache creeps back in. But scars mean you healed. They don't mean you lost. So here's my advice. Let them go. Let the silence answer what their words never will. And don't look back. Not even once. Because what's coming next is better than anything you're leaving behind. And you? You're not broken. You're just getting started. 3 months to the day she walked back into my house like nothing happened, I stood at the edge of a lake at sunrise. Alone. No phone. No distractions. Just me and the still water in front of me, mirroring a version of myself I hadn't seen in years, calm, whole, grounded. That morning, I forgave one last person. Not her. Not Austin. Not anyone else. I forgave myself. For not seeing it sooner. For loving someone who didn't deserve it. For believing in a future she never planned to stay for. I let go of the guilt, the shame, the anger, and I made peace with the fact that some storms don't come to break you, they come to clear the path. Ellie was a storm, but she passed, and I remained. I took the final signed copy of the divorce papers and burned them right there. Let the ashes drift into the lake. It wasn't symbolic. It wasn't poetic. It was just necessary. The past is gone. A week later, I got a message from her sister. Just a short one. She's not doing well. I didn't reply. Not out of cruelty. Out of clarity. Because her downfall wasn't my story anymore. Her regret wasn't my business. Her future wasn't my responsibility. She made her choices. And I made mine. I don't know where Ellie is now. Maybe still chasing people who can't give her what she thought I couldn't. Maybe still running from herself. But me? I'm here. Alive. At peace. And fully aware that the worst thing that ever happened to me became the best thing that ever happened for me. Pain is a mirror. It shows you what you've been hiding. It rips the mask off people and off yourself. I used to be a man waiting to be chosen. Now, I choose myself. And if there's one thing I hope someone out there takes from this story, it's this. Don't wait for someone to come back and love you right. Love yourself enough to close the door they walked out of. And never, ever open it again. Because healing isn't loud. It's quiet. It's peaceful. And when you feel it, you'll know you survived. You'll know you won. And most of all, you'll know you're finally home.